Hi guys, today I'm going to be working on another month in review layout. These photos are from February 2014, so I'm again continuing trying to work through my hoard of my mind's eye, and I'm going to keep using the same outline style silhouette cuts for the names of the months. I'm hoping I love this style, but I'm not liking that for whatever reason. I mean, unless I cut it like really big, these outlines are just so thin that a lot of times I'm losing pieces of it, and that's fine. I'm okay with it. It's just kind of frustrating when I'm trying to take it off the mat. So I'm kind of hoping that maybe with February being vertical, that in my sort of layout of everything, that maybe I can make, you know, February's title bigger, but I'm gonna kind of have to wait and see where all of this takes me to figure out, you know, how big I can go with my title. I did find my printouts that I had done of some of the layouts that Nicole McGork had done, and I just kind of printed them out to have them on hand just for ideas as far as, you know, when you've only got so much space to work with for embellishments and stuff, just kind of jumping off points, or like, I thought this would be kind of cool that I could use up some 6x6 paper pads by just cutting strips and tucking them behind things, and just kind of ideas, just because I don't typically use a lot of these larger photo collages. I love them, and I've bought a bunch of them from Carrie Bradford's online store. I just don't naturally have like a style as far as using them, and Nicole McGork is pretty good. And then I also printed out a bunch of stuff from Laura Vegas because she uses a lot of the same photo collages. So I just like to have stuff like this on hand to kind of give myself ideas, especially with these big photo collages of just kind of like, okay, what's something that I can do that will make the page still interesting but not seem like it's just a big photo. So as far as paper and stuff that I pulled out, I grabbed a sheet of just some white cardstock. Even though this Beloved from My Mind's Eye, and this is really, really old, I don't even know, oh, 2009, huh. So 6-7 years old. Even though this is cream based, I like the bright white with it. I'm okay with that. I had pulled up on my computer over here a couple other ideas on photo collages that go this way, so I'm not really sure where, you know, I don't have anything laid out, I don't have anything sketched out. I don't really like to work like that, but at the same time I'm kind of using these as, you know, practice, so that when I go to do like 2015 and 2016 month in review layouts, I can kind of figure out what I like, what works for me, what doesn't work for me, that type of thing. So I've got this. I've never cut into it, never used any of these. I don't have anything else that goes with it. I don't know that there was anything else that went with it. So I just kind of went through my stash and I pulled these. I liked the gray, to just put 2014 on there somewhere. And then I pulled a bunch of these stickers from October Afternoon because I thought some of the pinks and the aquas and some of the little phrases that are on here, especially like the pink ones and stuff, even though, you know, I'm not doing these themes or whatever, I think some of the colors on the more generic stickers will work. I also found these two from My Mind's Eye, just some phrases. There's not a 0, so I couldn't do the date in the pink, and then I don't know if this is going to work or not, but I just kind of pulled it. I still have the die cuts out on my desk from January's layout, so with it being February, I thought this might be cute. I'm just kind of leaving myself a lot of options to kind of see where it goes, just because I'm a big sketch user, I'm a big kit user, and I like to scrap lift. So going off on my own takes me more time, and I just kind of I don't like not having a game plan. But I'm trying to sort of like exercise my creative brain and see what I can come up with on my own. So I'm going to go ahead and go through the papers and figure out what I want to use and put you guys on fast forward and see what happens. So to get started, I attempted to get into this paper pack and sort of quickly learned that the glue strip had basically petrified, and I kind of had a little giggle over how old these papers were and just was kind of wondering why I had never opened these papers. So I'm just going through and sort of looking at the patterns and kind of determining which ones I for sure want to use and which ones I pretty much, have no interest in, at least for this layout. And then I'm going to grab that photo collage and just sort of trim up any of the edges that were too wide. When I had this printed, I had sent it in for a 12 by 12 print, and I had some extra photos printed in the open space. So that was just left over from that project. And I'm just kind of trying to figure out how I wanted to lay everything out. And at one point during this process, I kind of jumped on my computer and I knew that I had been watching those older Nicole McGork videos, so I kind of skimmed through some of her old YouTube stuff, and she had this older layout, and I'll link it below, from, I want to say it was a Valentine's Day party or something, and she had used a vertical photo collage, and I just really liked the way that she had laid out the photos, or the papers in the background, like the big block and stuff like that. So I had kind of pulled that up, and I figured, okay, I'll use a couple elements as far as, using the big blocks of pattern paper and stuff behind the photo collage. So I kind of was scrap lifting that, and then I had to kind of play around with this multicolored pattern paper, mostly because I wasn't paying attention when I initially cut it, and it does sort of have a vertical pattern to it with the way that the hearts are falling down the pattern, and I actually cut it so it was sort of rotated the wrong direction, so I just kind of trimmed that up how I needed it to be, and most of the right side's going to be underneath my photo collage anyways. So, and I tend to, as soon as I know something is for sure either cut the right size or it's going in a specific spot, I like to go ahead and put my adhesive on and attach it. I wanted to put some of a darker red over on the right, and I thought about doing something with the red pattern paper right there, and then I saw there was this little border punch that I think has the same pattern on it from the little die cut sheet that came in the collection, so I just went ahead and decided I was going to use that. And then I wanted to put some pattern paper behind it, so I'm going to go with this pink and red sort of chevron, or not chevron, just diagonal stripe paper. And again, I'm going to go ahead and commit to these layers here. And then I'm just trying to kind of keep things where I want them to be sort of as I'm going. Just I kind of have a bad habit of sort of pushing things over to the side of my desk when I'm working on maybe embellishments or something smaller, and then when I pull it back, everything's kind of shifted and I can't really remember what I was going for. So I'm trying to be a little bit better about keeping things sort of situated on the page as I'm working. I am having a look through some of those my Mind's Eye die cuts that I keep pulling out, and I don't know, they weren't the same color palette as this collection, and then they were kind of bigger, so I went back to that sheet that came with the collection, and I thought about putting this little die cut up on top. And then here I'm going back and kind of looking at that video that I was pulling inspiration from, and it was mostly just to kind of see where she was putting those bigger elements. I'm not very good on my own at sort of having, I guess what people would say, like a balanced layout.
So looking at other people's layouts, sketches, stuff like that, tend to sort of help me figure out, okay, if I put my journaling here and if I put my title here, where is that leaving me sort of somewhere else that I need to either have a bigger element or smaller element. Here I was playing around with the idea of using this My Favorite Things background stamp, and I think this is like a school lined paper looking image, and I tried it a couple of times, but for whatever reason it just wasn't working for me. I went ahead and left it in the video just so that you can kind of see during a process like this, I will kind of go off on different tangents, and they sometimes work and they sometimes don't work. I don't really ever sit down and think, okay, I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to use these specific stamps and I'm going to do this exact technique. I kind of just, a lot of times will start with, okay, I'm going to follow this sketch, or I'm going to use this person's layout as a scrap lift, or even just a jumping off point, or a lot of times I'll just go ahead and put a kit together, but I don't really ever have like a set plan when I'm doing stuff like this. So I went ahead and ditched that stamped journaling spot that I was kind of going with, and I went ahead and just printed my journaling on some craft cardstock. And unfortunately, I only had some kind of crummy craft cardstock that I had bought in a big pack from like a big box store. I couldn't find any of the nicer like basil cardstock, which I prefer the color of. This, for whatever reason, it just kind of looks like, it reminds me of like a paper towel roll. And I tried to score it and fold it over, and the paper just sort of cracked. Like it's just not a good quality paper, so I went ahead and just cut that off. And then I was deciding that because it was a craft paper, that I thought it would be kind of cute to just put some stamping with some white ink on there. So I just am kind of sorting through some of the stamps that I had laying out on my desk. I did not end up using the one that's sitting in the frame for most of this. That's a stamp set from Honeybee Stamps. I did grab this one from Carrie Bradford, and I'm not sure what the name of it is. I don't have it in front of me. And I'm going to go with this, I think it's Document Life or Documented Life. Document Life. I'm going to go ahead and put that on there. And then this is, I had come back after dinner, so I went and grabbed this Allie Edwards stamp, and I'm going to go ahead and put it above my journaling. And I'm just stamping off on the back to make sure that the ink was still good and nothing was wrong with the stamp. And then I ended up grabbing a little arrow stamp from the Carrie Bradford set, and I'm just going to kind of put it on either side of the Document Life phrase just to kind of fill in some of that space. So I'm liking how that looks, and going to kind of just make sure that my spacing is still okay. And then I'm going to go back to that die cut sheet and kind of pull off a couple of the smaller, more generic looking pieces. And then I had pulled this Simple Stories snap set because I was noticing that there was some aquas, reds, and pinks in it. So I went ahead and I pulled the entire snap set that I had, but I'm going to only end up using some of the stickers because I just found that those were working. I didn't see anything in the cards that I wanted to die cut or anything like that. And then here I'm trying to figure out what pattern paper I want to go ahead and cut my title with. I'm going back to that diagonal stripe that I had used previously, and then I'm still using the dark brown wood grain textured cardstock from American Crafts to cut the frame for the title of the month. And for this one I decided to kind of test a theory just because I was having issues with the super thin lines of the design cutting. So I went ahead and in my software I just rotated it so that it was actually going vertical down the paper, and it cut much better. And then today I actually worked on March's layout, and because March is only 5 letters, I was able to cut it bigger, and man, did that cut so much better too. And I'm going to go ahead and apologize that my dogs started barking. One of the neighbor's dogs got loose, and she was basically sitting on our front porch, and my dogs were going crazy. This part is where I'm going ahead and committing to using these little die cuts. And after I had attached this little door circle, I noticed that I kind of had a little, like, I don't know if you'd call it trapped space or what. So I'm kind of keeping in the back of my mind that I need to find something to sort of cover that up. If I had slid the circle a little bit further underneath my photo collage, it would have covered up the last letter in a door, and I didn't really kind of want to do that. So here is where I'm sort of pulling up my title and just kind of being really careful about it. And I went ahead and cut that part out of the video just because I'm kind of slow at stuff like that. So I went ahead and glued it to the base piece of the title. And then now I'm just going with those little snap stickers, and I wanted to use the one that said love, so my title now says February Love. And then I'm just going through and looking at the rest of the stickers and kind of deciding what I want to do. And I went with this long strip phrase from October Afternoon. And I'm out of frame, but you'll see it in a minute. I'm putting it up at the top and kind of covering the gap where those two circles in the photo collage met. And then I'm taking those little punched out pieces from the paper pack and some more stickers, and I'm just going to kind of make a little cluster up above the collage. And I'm going to play with this little pink sticker for a while and end up not using it. And I'm using the little alphabet set that came with the Simple Stories snap set. I just had to trim off little pieces off of the end of the numbers from where the next section of stickers was. The cuts were a little bit off, and I switched out the laughter sticker for this little phrase. And then I grabbed that little red arrow, and then now I'm going through these corduroy brads and buttons. These are from Stampin' Up, and they are very, very old. I bought them when I was a demonstrator, and so these I probably bought about the same time as this paper pack, and I keep trying to use them, and I keep coming across the same problem that some of those brads are just big. Like, the thought of those sort of sticking out of a page protector is just kind of like, I don't know, daunting to me. So I decided to go with one of the red corduroy buttons, and then I just grabbed some basic pink and red buttons from my stash because I kind of wanted to add another one up there. And I'm just gluing these down with glossy accents, and it's mostly because in a perfect world I would love to have been able to stitch them onto my layout, but it probably would have taken me 30 minutes to go find a needle and thread, and I was just kind of over it. I was sort of racing to get this done amongst, just general family stuff that was going on. I scattered some little heart stickers from that snap set, and then I went ahead and covered them in glossy accents just to kind of draw a little bit more attention to them, and that was pretty much it for this layout. So I'm going to include a couple close-up photos of the different areas, and again I will post a link below to the specific Nicole McGurk video that sort of the layout came from, so that you can see that. And I'm really liking sort of how quick these are and how many photos I'm getting done on a single layout. So I'm definitely going to finish out the year, and I look forward to, being able to share my process. So as always, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.